So your morning started and you don't know what's up. Give me your ear and a grab of your cup. It's the time of the week you've been waiting for. So tune on in and we'll give you some more. Cause there's only one show that makes you good to go. It's Cup of Joe.
Hey Rams, welcome back to episode 2 of Cup of Joe. I'm Josh Friend.
And I'm Bam Alvin.
We have some brand new teacher segments and news updates to share with you.
Let's get into it. Back in early November, the DePaul Prep Theater Society lit up the Black Box Theater with their latest production, Middletown, by Will Eno. The show follows town newcomer, Mary Swanson, and longtime resident, John Dodge, as their unexpected friendship grows, in the process revealing that Middletown's perfect exterior might be hiding something a little darker. Cup of Joe would like to give a huge shout out to Mr. Bryant, the show's director, and all the insanely talented performers, actors, actresses, and crew who truly brought this story to life. Make sure to keep your eyes peeled for more information about the DePaul Prep Theater Society's next performance, You on the Moors Now, by Jacqueline Backhouse, coming this spring to a theater near you.
DePaul Prep's music program absolutely killed it October 30th at the annual fall concert, where the chamber orchestra, honors band, and advanced choir delivered a night full of pure wonder and awe. Directed by Mr. Braun and Mr. Rocks, the Jammin' Rams performed a number of different pieces, all of which sounded amazing. Even cooler than that, the DePaul Prep Chamber Orchestra wrapped up their segment of the night by playing their last piece. What's that? Blindfolded? Yep, that's right, blindfolded. If you missed out on this awesome performance, get out your calendars. On February 25th, 2026, the DePaul Prep Symphony Orchestra will be returning to the stage with their annual winter concert at 6:30 p.m. in the Commons. See you there!
Welcome to Ava's A-List, where I, Ava Weber, approve and review recently released movies. Today, I'm bringing you my review of one of this year's biggest movie musicals, Wicked. Wicked tells the untold story of the Witches of Oz. Elphaba, the so-called Wicked Witch, and Glinda, the sparkly overachiever who becomes Glinda the Good. This first film covers the first half of the Broadway musical, focusing on their friendship, their rivalry, and how few misunderstandings can turn one into a legend or a public enemy. This movie stars Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jonathan Bailey, Jeff Goldblum, Michelle Yeoh, Ethan Slater, Marissa Bodie, and Bowen Yang, a powerhouse cast that brings Oz to life. Visually, this movie is stunning, with bright detailed sets and CGI that feels magical instead of overwhelming. The music stays faithful to the original Broadway score, and fans will recognize favorites like Defying Gravity and Popular. Performance-wise, the cast really shines. Their chemistry makes the story feel emotional and grounded, and the vocals are, no surprise, show-stopping. If you're a fan of the musical, you'll appreciate how respectfully the movie adapts the story. And if you're new to Wicked, this film does a great job pulling you into Oz without needing any background knowledge. Overall, I'd give Wicked a 10 out of 10, and for finally bringing this iconic musical to the big screen. Don't miss the next episode, where I'll be reviewing Wicked for Good, the highly anticipated second chapter that completes the story. Stay tuned. Toss toss.
On Tuesday, November 4th, the talented artists of the National Art Honor Society hosted an art fair where they showcased an amazing variety of student-made pieces. From original paintings to customized picture frames, NAHS artists sold their work in support of the Esperanza Community Center. Truly an incredible blend of art and community impact. Now let's hear from some of the student artists about what they created.
we were selling art for really cheap for a charity, and this is my friend's art, not mine. Just digressed. This is live size art. We have these two beautiful prints. These are lino block prints. We have a bunch of those for $2, which is honestly really cheap for lino prints because they take so much time and effort into them. And we have paintings for $5, and then little trinkets for $1.
So this charity is Esperanza Community Center, and they work with adults, and they do like different schooling for people with mental disabilities, and they're a really great program, and that's what we're supporting today.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Flynn. I teach Sustainable Urban Food Systems and Culinary Arts at DePaul, and today we are going to make the fan favorite pumpkin squares with cream cheese frosting. This will be perfect for your holiday tables. We are going to start with 2 cups flour, and with flour you don't want to pack it in, so you're just going to gently fill up your flour, and you're going to use a level knife to make sure you have a nice even amount, and then we'll add them to the wet ingredients. That's our flour, and we always close up anything we're done using so it doesn't spill. Keep it super simple. Then we're going to add the baking powder to this. That will help the cake rise and be nice, light, and fluffy and not dense. And we're doing 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Then we'll add salt, and we're just doing 1 teaspoon of salt. Because it is fall, we want to use a little bit of cinnamon. This will bring out the spices of the dish, make it nice and warm and feel comforting. Doing 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. So just like that, all our dry ingredients are done. Super easy. We're going to give it just a nice mix so that it's all ready to go when we put it in the bowl. So then we're going to start doing our wet ingredients. We're going to start with 4 eggs that we're going to crack. And often you see people cracking the egg on like the side of a table or side of the bowl. That will give you more shells. So you really want to, or more potential to get shells into your cake. So you want to just do a nice flat surface, give it a good solid crack. There we go. So we've got our 4 eggs. And I'm just going to wash my hands. And then we're going to add sugar. And this recipe does use a lot of sugar, 2 cups of sugar. And if you are tempted to use additional sugar like some of my students, don't do it. Because when you add extra sugar, all you're going to taste is a really grainy taste to the cake, and the cake will not set correctly. So I'm doing a little bit less. It is the holidays, we all need a little bit of a treat. So this is not going to be your healthiest recipe, but I promise you it will be tasty. And we are going to do 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And then we are going to add a cup of oil. So this is the fat that we're using instead of butter or anything else. We're using oil. And then, of course, the star of the show is pumpkin. So it calls for 16 ounces of pumpkin. Typically, a can of pumpkin is only 15 ounces. So you're going to need a can and a little bit more to get the recipe that you want. We're just going to scoop that all in here. So we'll move that to the side. And we're going to bring this all together. And what you're looking for is just to make sure that all the ingredients come together nicely, so it's a nice, smooth, airy mixture. And when you think it, you're just eyeballing it. So when you think it's all done, you're probably good to go. We're going to turn that off, lift this up again, and now we're going to add all of our dry ingredients. And typically you'll want to add dry ingredients a little bit at a time, but this recipe is so forgiving, you can dump the whole thing in all at once. So start on a nice low mix, let it get incorporated, and again, all you're looking for is to make sure that the flour is all mixed in. It's nice and even. We want a really smooth batter for this. And now our cake batter is done. It was that simple. So we are going to add it to our tray. So you just want a nice half baking sheet, aluminum. You don't want a dark pan. If it's a dark pan, it'll burn quicker. You're going to spray it with a little bit of non-stick spray. And you want to make sure you get the whole pan, a nice even spray, including the edges. And then the recipe calls for us to flour it. And the reason why you do that is to make sure that the cake comes out super easy. And you don't want to be dainty with this. You want to put a good bit of flour. And because I'm rather messy when I cook, I'm going to go over the sink to this. And you want to give it a nice hit. So you can't be dainty, you got to get the flour all over so it spreads to the whole pan. And then the last step of this is just to make sure you get any excess flour out, and that way it will not taste like flour when you put your cake in it. So now we're gonna just pour our batter in, and you want it to be spread as evenly as possible. And once you have it all out of your mixing bowl, you're gonna spread it super evenly. So you're just gonna take your time with it, be super gentle. So right now it needs to be still spread out, and you're just gonna gently get it in every corner that you can. So you're almost there, just a little bit more. It also helps to give it a couple of bangs so you get it more level. And that helps release some of the air and the bubbles up. And now we're gonna put this in the oven, and we should be ready to go in about 12 minutes. We're gonna check on it again, and we'll cook it for another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll be ready to frost. Now it's time to make the cream cheese frosting, which is probably the best part of this dessert. So the recipe calls for 3 ounces of cream cheese, and I've had this cream cheese out so that it's at room temperature, which makes it a little bit easier to work with. 1 teaspoon, only 1 teaspoon of milk. You can use any kind of dairy milk you want to use, or non-dairy milk. 1 tablespoon of butter. Again, I've had this out for a while to make it a little bit easier to stir, so the butter is nice and soft. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Wouldn't be the worst thing if you have an extra drop of vanilla, it'll just make it taste even better. 1 3/4 cup of powdered sugar. So this is definitely gonna be a sweet cream cheese frosting. And unlike flour, we don't have to be as precise with this. When you're measuring flour, you wanna be really exact so that the cake isn't dry and it comes together nicely. All right, so that is our 1 3/4 cup of powdered sugar. And here's where it gets a little bit messy. So when you're using a mixer, you wanna make sure you are touching the bottom of the bowl so that it at least makes it a little less messy, but it's just gonna be messy. So don your aprons, here we go. And you can see it's going all over. So that you can see, it looks like I need more liquid in here, but just trust the process, be patient, it will come together. If you feel like you just absolutely have to have a little more liquid, you're adding a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon at a time. That's it. You don't want to add too much or your frosting won't stay together. It'll just get really, really runny. It's just gonna keep making a mess. Now we've got frosting. So now I can turn it up a little bit. Make sure it's nice and smooth. All right. And since you're the chef, you should absolutely taste to see if it came together. We are good to go. Cream cheese frosting. So now we just need to wait. We're gonna wait for the cake to finish cooking. And then you wanna let it cool till it's about just warm to the touch. If it's too hot, your frosting is gonna melt. So it's better when it's just a little bit warm. It makes it easier to spread the frosting without letting it melt. So we're now gonna wait for the cake to come out of the oven. All right, so we just got our cake out of the oven. And if your oven is like mine and you have some parts that cook darker, some that cook a little lighter, don't worry about it. We're gonna frost the whole thing and nobody will know. So when you're frosting, you want to use a really light touch because otherwise it'll pull up the top of your cake. And if the cake is a little bit warm, not hot, but a little bit warm, it does work a little bit easier because it kind of melts the frosting as you're moving it, just enough to make it easy to spread. And again, just like when we were making the batter, you want to take your time with this so that you don't pull up the top of the cake. If that happens, no big deal, just add more frosting. When you go to cut it, you can cut it to any size you want. So this is a great versatile recipe because you can feed lots of people or give people really big slices. All All right, we're almost there. We just want to get this last bit of edge. Don't want to leave anybody without frosting. And I am not particular about how my frosting looks, but if you want it to be nice and even, just go all in one direction and it will smooth it out for you. But I'm gonna believe cream cheese frosting is gonna be delicious regardless of how it looks. So now we get to taste it. Again, you can cut this into any size that you want so it meets the needs of your group. First one's always hard to get out, but totally worth a little patience. Absolutely delicious. Thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays.
Thanks for watching episode 2 of Cup of Joe.
See you next time. Clink. Okay. Yeah.
What?
Bro. And some important news updates to share with you.
Sorry. In the process, revealing. Make sure to keep your eyes peeled for more
So your
information about
morning
the
started and you don't know what's up. Give me your ear and a grab of your cup. It's the time of the week you've been waiting for. So tune on in and we'll give you some more. Cause there's only one show that makes you good to go. It's Cup of Joe.